Hello again, everybody. Welcome in on what is a beautiful Tuesday in Nashville, Tennessee. A little different setup today in that we are not on radio, but are the way this thing started 2.5 years ago, podcast only. We'll return to radio tomorrow and look forward to having you there. And the one difference is today we can't take any phone calls. And so that's that. But we got a good show nonetheless. Kelly, do you know what day it is?
April Fool's Day, yes.
Okay. So this one I had nothing to do with. Okay.
We're still going to blame you, though.
No, I was not even in state when it happened. So I said to Willie earlier today, who was the perpetrator of this, do you remember when you put out on the air as an April Fool's joke that I had accepted the Atlanta Braves radio job? He says, yes. As I recall, you weren't very happy about it. Got an unbelievable reaction on the air, though. It took us 2 hours to repeat over and over to everyone, finally, that it was an April Fool's joke. I guess it worked too well. I then said, yeah, I was in Tunica at a blackjack table with some friends getting weird congratulatory texts. Hilarious. And then Willie sends me back. Angie Smith, during the break, told me you were on hold. She goes, I don't think he's in a very good mood. And then Willie says, we carefully stated some BS, quote, the Braves have allowed Plaz to remain in Nashville and commute to Atlanta for weekend home games so he could continue doing the show or something like that. So
great.
I'm at a blackjack table and in Tunica, I don't remember what casino, I probably wasn't winning, but I pull up my phone and I get this text from a BGA classmate. Congratulations. This is what you always wanted. And now this gets followed by about 4 more of these. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? So I call back at the station and I find out. Well, the next day, I'm back in town. The Predators, I remember, were playing a really early afternoon game against the Chicago Blackhawks. It was near the end of the season. I don't remember what year it was. I want to say somewhere in the 2010, maybe 2011 range. So I walk in, and I get there about 20 minutes before game time, and the usher at my section, 304, grabs me and goes, please tell me this isn't true. I said, what isn't true? He goes, that you're leaving to go to Atlanta. He goes, you belong in Nashville. This is where you need to be. And I was like, stop. I was like, this is some crap Willie put out on the air yesterday. Whatever it was, it worked because a bunch of people were fooled. To my knowledge, there will be no April Fool's jokes today.
I'm not smart enough to do April Fool's jokes. Everybody always gets me, though. I'm the most gullible human being ever when it comes to stuff because I think about nothing.
That's nice. Billy, have you ever either perpetrated or been the recipient?
I've definitely been the recipient. I'm kind of like Kelly. I've never been smart enough to actually make them up. But with the transfer portal, I mean, there's all kind of stuff on Twitter that this guy's going to this school or whoever just landed this player. Like, this is one of the days I stay off Twitter because it's ridiculous.
So here's one a friend of mine sent me. Penn State athletics to cut basketball programs following next season. And
some of them are good.
Sure, we're going to be part of the Big Ten, but screw hoops. We're not any good. We're not going to play. Yeah. So
that crap reason that Willie put out that you would be able to stay in Nashville is hilarious.
well, first of
Hey,
all,
that
I
is
mean,
good.
now that I think about it, it did make some sense because people knew that I don't enjoy flying. Ask me what my dad did for 42 years, and the answer is he worked for American Airlines. But his son, a little bit of a yellow belly when flying, and in turbulent weather, as Willie called it, the death grip.
Oh,
He
white
was-
knuckling, baby.
Oh, God. He's seen a couple. So
It's awful.
anyway, the whole deal about me, being here but commuting to Atlanta, I mean, it sounded fairly real.
That's pretty good by Willie,
It
man.
was.
He set it up and he implemented it, man. That's pretty good.
Well, I'll
And
say
he
this.
probably knew he could put your brain in a blender for a day.
Oh, when I got him on the phone, I lit him up like a Christmas tree. I was like, you get back on there and you tell people it isn't true.
That's good.
George,
Yeah.
laugh at yourself. Relax, Francis.
Well, it's hard though when you're sitting there, and you're trying to play blackjack and you're trying to figure out whether to hit on 16 or not. And all of a sudden you get these texts. This was your dream job. This was what you always. What the hell are we talking about?
Hey, how bad did you lose after that point? Because you could not focus on blackjack.
No. Oh no. In fact, we cut the trip short and came back that night instead of the next morning. I was a little
Really?
flustered. Yeah, I was a little flustered because I kept getting these texts from people that meant well. This is your dream job. You've always wanted it. What are you talking about?
That's pretty
Well,
funny.
And then I started smelling a rat. And the rat was Willie.
Well, we got an update today.
Willie rhymes with Billy, by
Yes.
the way.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
The update, not as loaded as it was yesterday. We do have some pieces to get to, though. It's brought to you by Lori Burnett Leland. You can find her online at mortgageladyusa.com or give her a call, 615-969-4350. The big news of the day is Buzz Williams is headed to Maryland. So we broke the news over the weekend that Maryland head coach Kevin Willard would be headed to Villanova. Well, Maryland has their replacement with Buzz Williams, former Texas A&M.
Okay. Now,
Head
how
coach.
did we break that news?
Well, we put it out there. We didn't break it.
No, there's.
I'm gonna say we broke it. Let's just say it.
Don't let
Billy's
facts
all
get
about
in the way of a good
Billy's
sport.
all about false advertising anyway, so it doesn't matter.
So Buzz is going to come in for some. What the hell's going on here? Because think about it. He's coached at Marquette. He's coached at Virginia Tech, which to me never made any sense. A&M, which has never been a basketball school. And now Maryland, which clearly is. To me, the signal that he's sending is I have taken A&M as far as it can go. Sweet 16. Is that what y'all see?
Do you really think that that's all Texas A&M can go with the money that they have at that place, though?
In basketball, maybe.
I mean, but still, if you got enough NIL, it doesn't matter. If you haven't been a very good basketball program, but you've got the money to spend and you're willing to spend it, I mean, you can turn this stuff around. It's like NFL's free agency. I mean, you can turn it around in a year. So I would think that Texas A&M and your favorite line is J.R. Ewing's, little J.R. Ewing's down there. I would think that they would throw money and throw money and throw money. Now, I understand Maryland's different because Maryland is kind of a basketball school, but still, I think you could do it at Texas A&M.
Buzz was 2-3 in the tournament. They didn't have a ton of success in March. They were a frequent, they would get to Saturday but not get all the way to the Sweet 16. They did it again this year, and they ran into a good Michigan team, but Buzz's style of play is up there with Rick Barnes. I mean, they suck the life out of the game. They slow it down, and maybe like you said, Kelly, with the money they have, Maybe they look to bring in an offensive coach, a guy that, is different than Buzz Williams. And maybe, they were a really good program though. I mean, year in, year out, but for the most part under Buzz Williams, A&M was, but he's also losing, what's his name? Forgetting his name right now.
Wade Taylor.
They're losing their whole team basically. I mean, they have a lot of guys leaving from this year. They had some 1-year rentals that won't be there. So I think this was a little bit of a timing piece here that Buzz looked at what he was going to have next year. He probably didn't want to go all portal heavy this year because he was losing basically his whole team.
Kelly, it feels to me like he's saying, look, who's kidding who? This is a football school. They're all in football. Bonfires and cheer squads. And I just don't feel quite that way about A&M hoops. He's done a marvelous job. Until he got there, people didn't even know they had a program.
Yeah, you may be right. I don't know. I just think there's enough money down there to go around for everybody. That's just kind of me. But here's another thing that I'm going to ask y'all. Is it one of those situations where he can go to Maryland and maybe not have as much a competition as the SEC starting to present now? So he's like, I'll have a better chance to get in the NCAA tournament and go further. I don't know.
So, okay, let me try this one. See what y'all think. So Maryland has an interim AD. Her name is Colleen Sorum. Think about that. So they were able, with an interim AD who just walks into this within a day and a half, to pluck Buzz Williams. I think not. I think this has been in the works for weeks.
Yep.
As they have known that Kevin Willard was pissed. Somebody somewhere reached out to somebody's agent and said, and the agent on the other side said, let's do it.
Well, and how long is A&M known? Or are they kind of the loser in this? Because this is a tough time all of a sudden right now to go looking for a coach. I wonder how long they have known. And this is a big hire for A&M, or else.
What names are being rumored?
I haven't even seen. I tried to look earlier, but I haven't seen any names. But A&M with their money, like you said, Kelly, they could go pluck a lower Big Ten level coach or an ACC guy that maybe wants a challenge.
And Billy, you talk about like how they're going to lose their whole team, but nowadays in this transfer portal, does that really matter? Because if you look at Maryland, how many guys is the Willard guy taking with him to Villanova?
Probably several.
He's going to take those guys. I mean, that Queen kid, he's probably going to go because he's a freshman. It's going to be the same thing for Buzz Williams going up there. You got to get into the transfer portal. You've got to get you a new team, and you've got to go recruit kids that you want. I don't know. I think it's going to be the same situation for everybody.
Well, if you're A&M, if you want to swing big, maybe take a coach from another conference. And I'm looking at a piece here that was put out today from an A&M site. They brought up TJ Alzberger from Iowa State, Grant McCasland, which you would think would be tough to nab, from Texas Tech. And they have some realistic options. Chris Jans from Mississippi State, Steve Lutz from Oklahoma State. I could see that.
Who was at Western.
Yeah. And then, some good mid-majors, Alan Huss from High Point. You still got Bucky McMillan out there. It'll be interesting to see what A&M does. You mentioned guys leaving Maryland to go to Villanova, potentially, Kelly. Apparently, Jacoby Gillespie is likely headed to Tennessee, and he's a Tennessee
by way
native.
Of Belmont.
Yes, he was a Tennessee native, Greenbrier, Tennessee. I think it was.
I think you're right.
And went to Belmont. So it looks like Gillespie will be headed to Tennessee. But another transfer out there, Ohio State transfer guard Michi Johnson has committed to South Carolina. If you remember, going back, he started his career at Ohio State 2021 and 22, and then he transferred to South Carolina, spent 2023 and 2024 at South Carolina. Last year, went back to Ohio State. Now he's back at South Carolina.
How many years he get?
I mean, he's been in college since 2021, so... fifth, sixth year. This is ridiculous.
It's
When
ridiculous.
they can show you their AARP card, it's a little out of control.
Gosh. NIT semifinals tonight at Hinkle Fieldhouse. North Texas and UC Irvine at 6, and Chattanooga and Loyola Chicago. Oh, come on. You're not ready to watch the mocks?
Well, let me ask you this. Right now, we've got going on this Fox tournament that has a lot of the bigger names.
The Crown.
The NIT, I mean, run through that list again.
North Texas and UC Irvine and Loyola Chicago and Chattanooga.
George, I've got a question. I've got a historical question for you.
Okay.
When I always thought that the UTC mocks, they got Moccasin Ben down there, so I always thought they were a serpent. And then a couple of years ago, my son's best friend played for UTC, and I find out it's the Mockingbirds. Have they always been the Mockingbirds?
Not that I know of. I always thought they were the Mocks.
Yeah, exactly. No, they're Mockingbirds now. That's what the mocks stand for.
Oh, good
You
Lord.
didn't know that?
No.
Well, their mascot is a mockingbird named Scrappy. But I always thought Mox was short for moccasins.
That's me, because they got Moccasin Ben. When you come right there, they got that penitentiary and that insane asylum right there. So I thought it always was the Mocks. But now come to find out it's the Mockingbirds.
By the way, there are 3 things in life that are guaranteed: death, taxes, and if you're on the interstate and you get within 10 miles of Chattanooga, get ready to sit and rot.
That's
Thank you. Yeah.
You're absolutely right.
Also, we got some NFL news and big news.
Big news. Big.
How do you know it's big, Billy?
Well, take a listen. The method for measuring first downs in the NFL will switch from chain gangs to camera-based technology in 2025. But hold on, I need to make sure this is not an April Fool's joke, because I saw this on Twitter. I need to double check.
Please be an April Fool's joke.
I might have gotten got.
I think you did. There you go, throwing something out there, this false advertising that you're not scared to do.
This is NFL on ESPN tweeting out, the method for measuring first downs in the NFL will switch from chain gangs to camera-based technology next season.
Oh, I've got a line that I am not about to use.
But the traditional chain crew will remain on the sidelines in a secondary capacity.
Secondary?
Yes.
Probably means pay gets reduced.
Well, does that mean that the secondary plan is sitting over there on the bench talking until one of the monitors goes out and then they've got to get back up, or are they going to be there the whole time? Which one is it?
It's a good point. I see where he's coming from. So are there other items, or are we done?
There are other items.
Oh, Lord.
NFL owners approved a significant change to the league's kickoff structure. As we talked about, they have confirmed that the touchbacks on kickoffs will be marked at the 35. League officials have made official, but they're continuing discussions about the tush push, about banning the tush push after tabling a proposal yesterday to ban it. So the tush push could be the next change to take place.
Which I'm for, but I understand both sides of it.
So do we think that's why the Philadelphia Eagles won the Super Bowl, because of the tush push? There's
No,
only one team that can do it.
No, but they have found a play that appears to be indefensible, partly because they have a quarterback who can bench press Philadelphia.
Yeah, and he can squat 1,000 pounds.
Oh,
I mean, good gracious.
Your update is completed.
Well, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
After the break, Tony Basilio will join us. That's always lively. And then at 4:00, you got to help me with the last name. Victoria
Matiash.
God, I fear that I'm going to blow it.
Don't butcher it.
She is really good. She's going to talk to us about the Predators, where they're headed, and perhaps where they're not. And she's got some strong opinions when it comes to this. So Stay tuned for one day. It's not 94.9. We'll be back on radio tomorrow, so I've got to make up something really clever. Like, stay tuned. We'll have more in just a moment.
When I got my first car, my dad told me, keep the gas tank full and my number on speed dial. Now parents are telling their kids, save 615-242-9000 just in case. I'm Blair Durham. If you or someone you love is in a wreck, call us. We're here to get you the money you deserve.
It's easy to say good things about the folks at Strike and Spare Family Fun Centers. Number one, I trust them with something that's near and dear to me, the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. But more importantly, I see the fun people have. They enjoy the bowling, they enjoy the camaraderie, and you will too. Come by any of their locations and get ready to have some fun.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
For over 35 years, Wilson Bank & Trust has been committed to providing customized banking solutions to help individuals, families, and businesses in Tennessee achieve their goals. As your full-service community bank, we are proud to offer loans with competitive rates, local decision-making, and fast, friendly service from our experienced lenders. No matter where you are on your financial journey, Wilson Bank & Trust is ready to help you take the next step. Visit your nearest Wilson Bank & Trust office or online at wilsonbank.com to get started today. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Venture Express has been helping people in this area for more than 40 years. They're headquartered in Murfreesboro with over 30 years of dedicated fleets involving production, manufacturing, and corrugated experiences. They're an asset-based company with over 700 tractors, 4,000 trailers, and 800 drivers. If you need their help, dial them up 615-793-9500 or log on to ventureexpress.com. Okay, we welcome all of you back on a beautiful Tuesday in Nashville. My guess is the weather is much like this in Knoxville, where our man Tony Basilio joins us for his weekly Tuesday event. Tony, tell us about the watch party, because I got a feeling you had a ton of people there.
Well, the great Mark Griffin was there. I mean, come on now. Our guy Griff was in. Anytime our guy Griff is in the house, you're dealing with an A-list cast of characters. George, we had a great time at Calhoun's on the River. It's a shame, you know, you watch enough of these things, sports down through the years, whether you're on a football field, the ice, in the case of hockey, the basketball court, a baseball diamond. Sometimes you walk out there and you go, good gosh, we're in trouble today. One of the guys on my postgame show, Alex Myers, had a great line. He said, in a lot of ways, the Houston game felt like Tennessee's playoff game with Ohio State last year, because those two teams didn't belong on the same court together, unfortunately for Tennessee.
So I'm sure you've talked about this on the air. The thing that really surprised me was how tentative and indecisive they looked early. And it's not as though this is a team that shouldn't be familiar with this. They were in the Elite Eight a year ago. What's the theory about that?
Well, they're just playing a team that's, plays their style of play, George, but plays it better with very physical guys. And it was, you're right. I mean, Tennessee got in the game and blinked. What I hear is Tennessee behind the scenes told their kids, look, we've got to get shots up pretty early in shot clocks. And because if we wait, we're not going to be able to get shots off against these guys. They're going to smother us. And so from Tennessee's perspective, what the kids did is they kind of panicked in the game early on. And, when Lanier put that first 3-ball up and it didn't go, and then it might have been the next time down the floor or a time after that, one of the guys from Houston just comes over and rips the ball out of his hands right around the timeline, ties him up. That was pretty indicative of the way the game was going to go for them. And it was just a spot where they just were not in the game.
Tony, my hope is that you're going to tell me no, Barnes isn't catching a lot of heat, because when you think back over the 20 years, other than the Bruce Pearl era, before Rick Barnes got here, it wasn't all that great. Is he catching much heat?
No. Two consecutive Elite Eights. Most people are appreciative of the level they're playing at. Now, look, George, in any fan base, you're going to get people like I've had people, and I'm going to run an email that I got tomorrow, a guy calling me out for being soft and thought this about winning championships and blah, blah, blah. Look, I mean, only one team at the end of the year can win a national championship. And Billy Derrick and myself, we're both college baseball fans. At least I am at this point. He's been for a while longer. But, getting to the Elite Eight, to me, is the equivalent of making Omaha. Some teams have short stays in Omaha. Some teams have long stays in Omaha. But there's only one national champion at the end of the day. And the way I look at it, Barnes has gotten to Omaha 2 years in a row. And in the sport of college baseball, they don't fire people for getting to Omaha. So, there are only 300 some odd teams begin the season, and there's 8 teams left. I mean, what could possibly be the shame in that? And Tennessee, on Friday night beat a Kentucky team and what was a de facto home game for the Wildcats.
Tony, I'll take it a step farther, because I say this a lot on the air, mostly in years where the Braves don't win it. If it were easy, everybody'd be winning championships. But they're one of the last 6 teams in the country out of whatever it is, 360 some odd or 380. God only knows how many there are now. They were down to the final 6, and that ought to be celebrated.
Well, there's no doubt about that. And, the fact is, the Barnes thing is very confusing, because I had a caller today made a really eloquent point, which is that when you have a conversation about Rick Barnes and the people that say, well, never outperforms a seed in the NCAA tournament, except for 1 year out of 20 some odd tries, that's true. So that's indisputable. But then the other side of that is, at Tennessee, when he got here, they only had 1 Elite Eight appearance. And now they've had 2 in a row. And coupled with that, even in the Sweet 16, 3 consecutive years. I mean, that's getting out of the first weekend, which many people consider, a successful year. And then, George, I'll give you some more things. Past 4 years, 2021 through 2025, Tennessee has 30 AP top 25 wins. That leads Division I basketball. Alabama is the second closest team with 28. Connecticut has 26, Kansas 26, Ohio State 25, Purdue 23. So the point is, I mean, this guy is winning at an absolutely incredible clip. Top 20 wins. Tennessee first in the nation with top 26 wins during that same time span. 26 wins. Only Connecticut, and Connecticut has 24 and Alabama 23 and Kansas 22 are even within 6. I mean, the guy's doing everything but winning a regional final at this school. Everything.
The other thing I would invite people to do is look at the past history of some great coaches who have never made a Final Four.
Yep.
You know, the person that all of you hear me talk about, and he was a great human being, and I think a pretty damn good basketball coach. C.M. Newton never made a Final Four. So let me ask this question. I got 2 more, and then I'll turn it to Kelly, and then Billy can begin the process of sending the resume. I guess, Billy, are we sending it digitally?
Yes.
We're not mailing it.
No,
Okay.
Through email.
Okay, good. Is the Jacoby Gillespie thing, you think, done?
Yeah, I think it's close to done. I think Tennessee's going to add the McNeely kid from Virginia and Jacoby Gillespie in short order. Jacoby Gillespie obviously played at Belmont. I think Tennessee is hoping that they're going to be able to get Zakai Ziegler back next year. And I think the plan would be to play both those guys together. And let Ziegler play off the ball. Let those guys kind of split up the duties a little bit. And I think Ziegler would be amiable to that. So, because the going to work, the house settlement occurs next Monday. That's when they have their day in court. And at that time, they're going to get some ironclad instructions from the courts in terms of how they're going to proceed and break this thing up and what it's supposed to look like. One of the expectations is that they will have 15 basketball scholarships to play with next year versus the 13 they've had for the last several years. And so that will give Tennessee 2 or 3 spots at the end of their bench to gamble with, so they won't fill up a full allotment in the transfer portal. Basically, they're just going to go and sign with the hopes that, hey, we can bring Zakai Ziegler back. We could bring Gainey back and maybe Meshack back. But I would expect 2 of the 3 back, if not 3 of the 3, when the time comes, if the time comes. And it's a big if. Tennessee's expectation is that the NCAA, even if they're told in court on Monday that they have to give the 5th year, that they're going to slow roll it and wait till July. Don't ask me why they're going to slow roll it, but even if they do, I think Tennessee and these players might be prepared just to kind of wait and park a couple of spots for them. So in the meantime, though, this McNeely kid Tennessee is going to add from Virginia, who's on campus right now. They feel great about him. Shot 44% from three-point land last year. He's going to fill the Lanier Dalton Connect role. And then, as you mentioned, Jacoby Gillespie, who they called one of the Crab Five, he's a guy that they really feel like is going to, help them at their point guard spot. So they're going to claw right back. Hey, Rick Barnes, they go into this portal with a plan, George. And I'll tell you another thing they're going to do. They're going to get offensive players first and worry about the offensive end over the defensive end. They've decided to get modern in light of the development. Hey, like Houston did this year. Houston got modern. Houston got offensive guys and played defensive basketball with them.
Okay, last thing on my end, then Kelly takes over. My sense is that Buzz Williams to Maryland was him essentially saying, I've taken A&M as far as it can go. Sweet 16 and nothing more. Do you view it the same way?
I view it as him not getting behind the scenes the NIL money he wanted. That's what I view. Yeah, I think a lot of these guys. Yeah, I think a lot of these guys. Just talking to different people, I think a lot of these guys are of the impression now that you better give me a war chest to play with. Tennessee this past basketball season, their roster is about $3.5 million. It's going to cost probably between, well, I wrote it in the blog today over at tclub.team, probably $6.5 million to compete this next season. And that will be a middle upper tier roster in the Southeastern Conference, because the Kentuckys and the Arkansas of the world are going to spend north of $10 million. That's the expectation.
Kelly, the floor is yours.
Good gracious, that's just amazing amount of money. Talking about that, I understand in football, but like basketball, like upwards of $10 million. Kentucky and Arkansas, you think, Tony?
Yeah, and here's the deal: super wealthy people give their money away to these athletes when they have zero equity stake in the thing. It's the strangest thing ever. I would love to say that this is money that's from TV revenue. Portions of it will be from TV revenue this year for the first time in a while, but last year the $3.5 million was Tennessee basketball had, or the north of $20 million Ohio State had, was all privately funded money. Kelly, I mean, you tell me, Kelly, if I had all the money in the world, would I, just because sports entertain me, would I be giving somebody $3 million to play basketball? Probably not, but I'm not going to judge people that do, but it's very foreign and strange to me. I'll say that.
How?
I'd buy the Braves and tell Liberty Media to kiss off. Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
George, last night, I'm an ESPN Plus guy. I tried to watch the Flyers and Predators last night, and they blacked it out in Knoxville, a game played in Philadelphia.
I don't know what to tell you. You may have been done a favor.
Yeah, that sounds like your problem, Tony.
Wow.
Hey, so we're talking about this NIL stuff, man. Like, you know, you hear from coaches, you hear, like, how long can this last? Like, how long we've talked about it in the show before, and I've asked you this before, but you know, how long can this last with them going back to the same donors over and over and over again? They must have like monopoly money. I don't understand it. I'm like you. I'm not giving a kid $3 million to play basketball. I would enjoy, you know, being part of an organization, but like, how long do you think this can last, Tony?
I've always thought the bubble was going to burst in sports at some point, Kelly, going back 15, 20 years ago. But it just keeps going up and up and up. And I'll tell you what's really slick. The schools have now figured out, and if you've noticed, another NBA player has joined the fray here in the last week. The new model in basketball is for me to name you an assistant GM.
I just saw that.
Take a seven-figure donation. There's several people now that are doing it. Several people are now doing it. I name you an assistant GM, and I take seven figures from you. Of course, I don't know how long that lasts, but there's like 4 or 5 people around the country that are now doing that. I think you'll see it in football. I think you'll see it across the board. I wonder who's the first that's going to reach out and get some Saudi oil money. And I'm not kidding. These people are going to take money anywhere they can get it. I mean, we can laugh at that, or you guys can think I'm kidding. I'm not kidding. I'm not joking when I say that.
When you talk, like you're at Calhoun's, and I don't know if you ever asked this question, but when you talk to fans that are obviously UT through and through, Big Orange, like, what are the fans saying about this stuff? Like, are the fans getting like, Are they to the point now where they're saying, I don't know if it's that at that point right now, but it's going to get to a point where the fans say, I've had enough. I can't deal with this. Like, I understand that in Major League Baseball and the NFL and the NBA, those guys get paid. But, like, when you're starting to talk about young men getting paid all this money and young ladies getting paid all this money, like, how long till the fans say, enough is enough, I'm wiping my hands with it?
Kelly, the ratings are better than they ever have been. This basketball tournament's one of the highest rated in the last 30 years. We had over 300 people out there on the deck, and people were doubled over in pain, in real pain, at the sight of seeing the Vols go out like that. So I don't think it's hurt the relationship between the fan and the athlete. I just don't think it has. I'm with you. Like 5 years ago or a couple of years ago when this thing first started, I thought, man, oh boy, they're going to take a dip here because it's going to really dampen the enthusiasm. It hasn't at all. It has not dampened the enthusiasm at all.
Okay, let me ask both of you this though, because it's not the rank and file people that are turning this money over. It's the, as I call them, J.R. Ewing wannabes that are tossing the huge, this isn't IPTE, we'll get $10 here, 10 here. So the average fan may not be feeling this. They may be disgusted by it, Kelly, but it's the J.R. Ewing wannabes, and I need one in my will. If you got some extra money, send it on over.
Well, George, you've called them down through the years the owners.
Right.
Every
Team
owner
owner.
has an owner. Now there are several owners. That's all. Now there are several people that walk around at their country club and on their yacht, or they see each other in the summer, wherever they see each other, south of France or wherever. And hey, well, we got you last year. We got, and I really do think that's kind of what we're looking at. The thing that really gets me is, in the era we're living in, is that they're making more off television revenue than they ever have. But here in Knoxville, you'd never know that because Danny White, his presentation to these fans, they keep ratcheting it up on these fans to be involved with these sports. And I mean really ratcheting it up. Like they sent a thing out the other day, season tickets in Thompson Bowling Arena. I mean, they're asking for everything but your firstborn for some of these seats, man. I mean, it is like, wow. And again, I would have thought several years ago there was a breaking point, but apparently we're not near the breaking point. And if we are, I'm not seeing it coming if we are near the breaking point.
Well, I could talk about this for hours, but I do want to ask you a question. Like watching the after the game press conference with Jemai Mashak and like he got me emotional because it means something to him. It means something to those guys. And I heard a story about him, Rick Barnes, staying out an hour after practice one night, helping him, follow through and shoot right and get his elbow up and doing all that stuff. And what do these young men feel about him? Because it just seems like he's an old school coach, and he's tough on those kids. But kids need discipline, and it just showed just how much they care about that man. And I'm for him, man. I want him to get over the hump. I want him to win the thing, get to a Final Four, and win the national championship. But like, just what do those kids think about him? You hearing from other people?
Kelly, you've seen a lot of athletes and coaches, right, in relationships.
Yep.
You ever seen a guy look at a coach and cry for him and say, "Man, we let you down"? He had a couple of kids that were crying. We let you down. We let you down. Like I think a caller of mine brought this up. The pressure those kids put on themselves probably, and the bond he had with them probably added to the pressure of the moment Sunday, which might have been why Tennessee looked the way they did. But rest assured, Barnes is a guy who wears his faith on his sleeve. He doesn't try to hide from who he is. He is that person, every day of the year around those kids. And they walk out of here better people for having played for that guy. I really do believe that. I think in some cases we have a tendency to say that about certain coaches, and we kind of nod, wink behind the scenes. Say, yeah, but here's how he really is. No, with this guy, what you see is what you get. And you know, in one sense, like Tony Vitello said, he doesn't need wins to be a true champion. He said Rick Barnes does not need. He said, trust me when I tell you that, the impact he has on these people.
Tony, are Tennessee fans rooting for Auburn? Like, how do they feel about Bruce Pearl's success at Auburn? And is that a team and a group that Tennessee fans wouldn't mind seeing win it all?
That's an interesting question.
I haven't even thought about it. Yeah, Tennessee fans are rooting for Houston from here. I'll tell you why. When Houston was beating Tennessee's brakes off the other day, they did not taunt the Vols for 1 second.
Yep.
They didn't taunt the Tennessee fans that were in there. In fact, Matiash was inconsolable, and they had that risen court, you know, the court up in the air. This guy, the Williams kid from Houston, went down off the playing surface and grabbed Matiash and basically hugged him and held on to the guy while he was pretty tore up after the game. And, man, you just don't see that much in competition. I had a couple people today that were there that called in just emotionally recounting what that was like to see that today on the air. And they were like, hey, man, I'm off of Houston from here. And then after the game, Kelvin Sampson said, look, if it wasn't me, it was going to be Barnes that was going to win today, and that was going to be okay with me. And Barnes said the same thing about Sampson. The truth is, those are two old school guys that really don't have time for knuckleheads. Two great coaches that do it the same way. And it just so happens Tennessee ran into a team that played their style better than they do.
That is really well said. Tony, I'm guessing there's got to be somebody watching this show today who's saying, I've never listened to Tony before, but man, his stuff's pretty good. You tell that person how they can listen to you.
Well, if that's you, short bursts and short sample sizes can be deceiving. Okay, this was like a baseball player that started off well, but he'll end up hitting 220. Don't worry before it's all said and done. However, you can find my work at tclub.team. Again, tclub.team. Tomorrow, we're talking about the reconstruction of Tennessee's basketball roster, a lot of the moving parts from the portal. 21 more days counting today, guys. The portal is open, and all these Southeastern Conference teams, including Vanderbilt, George, are going to replenish their rosters. It's a wild thing to watch.
You're right about that. It is the wild, wild west. But you know what?
Sir.
We are very appreciative that you come on once a week with us. Great stuff as always. Thank you.
You bless me, my man. Have a great time.
Let's talk soon.
Bye. Thank you.
Tony Basilio. What a great job he does in Knoxville, and the way he's got it set up. Like everybody, you can hear him all over the place. We'll go to the break, and then we'll have a few more comments. When we come back, stay tuned.
When I got my first car, my dad told me, keep the gas tank full and my number on speed dial. Now parents are telling their kids, save 615-242-9000 just in case. I'm Blair Durham. If you or someone you love is in a wreck, call us. We're here to get you the money you deserve.
The Nashville Cats are back for another fun season of football. The first home game is Saturday night, March 29th at 5 p.m. against the Albany Firebirds. Catch the live play-by-play action on 93.3 Totally Hits. For tickets, go to thenashvillecats.com. That's thenashvillecats.com.
This is my buddy Stan Harrison from Apple Collision Centers. Recently, you've been talking to me about companies that have a fleet of trucks and they're always in need of repairs.
That's right, George. We understand that nobody likes to deal with the auto body repair process. We try to simplify that at our 3 convenient locations. We work with all major insurance companies. We help to ease the stress of the auto body repair process. We're located in Old Hickory, Hendersonville, and Gallatin. If you need our services, please stop by and see us.
And how convenient that we have that in the background. Now, seriously, these are good folks. They do really good work. Give them a holler.
Where can you see a saber-toothed tiger rappel from the rafters? How about a catfish fly? The biggest stars in Music City. Not to mention hockey's hottest ticket. The Predators win! Only in Smashville. See your Nashville Predators all season long at Bridgestone Arena. Single game tickets are on sale now at NashvillePredators.com. Let's go Preds!
Here in Nashville for the 7th Country Music Marathon and Half Marathon. I think it says a lot about the city of Nashville, what it has to offer.
Rock and Roll Nashville isn't just a race. It's the best way to experience this iconic city. We're giving you more music, more fun, and more reasons to run with us. Get immersed in music culture and join us for this legendary tour of Nashville.
We are back, and we're probably going to talk about this later. Billy asked a hell of a question at the end about Bruce Pearl and University of Tennessee fans. Kelly, as you probably know, Pearl and I go back to when he first got to Tennessee in 2006. Billy saw this earlier this year in the post-game press conference at Vandy. I kind of looked around. I was like, I'm probably the one person in here he knows. When it was over, he came over to me and we had a big bear hug, and we talked about things like our dads. When my dad was dying, Bruce Pearl made a point to get word to me that he had met Dad. He was sorry this was going on, that my dad seemed like a really good guy. And so when we talked about it that night after the game, he said to me, he said, I know nobody else in this room will believe this, but there are some things in life more important than these silly games. And, I remember when it was all going down at Tennessee, because he and I talked a little bit. My guess is, Billy, the answer to the question is that Tennessee fans will be rooting huge for him. I don't think there's any level of animosity aimed at him up there at all.
Yeah, you just wonder because, he started a lot of the success at Tennessee. Before Pearl, who was Tennessee's coach that they kind of, would it be
Don DeVoe, and before
Don
that,
DeVoe,
Ray
yeah.
Mears.
Ray Mears?
Ray Mears would be the father, if you want to call it that, of University of Tennessee basketball. DeVoe had a good run. Mark Griffin played for him. DeVoe was a hell of a coach.
Yeah, without
Right.
Pearl and his success, do you get Rick Barnes at Tennessee? Because Pearl made that Tennessee job appealing, and even though it didn't work out, he ends up going to Auburn, of course. But I wonder about that.
People forget Barnes had just gotten fired. Didn't you show the clip last week where he had said,
oh yeah,
something? The reporter asked him, are you going to be out of coaching for long? Probably not as long as you think, because he knew what was in the works. Look, it was Tennessee's. Now, what is weird is I don't remember a big celebration when he got hired. I think there were a lot of people that sort of were
still soured about
what's
Pearl.
what's he accomplished, that kind of mentality. Because he's gone to one Final Four. It was when Kevin Durant was at Texas. But I would tend to agree with whoever said, look, you don't have to make the Final Four to have your credentials validated.
Yeah.
I do think that's true.
I think that's who he is to a T. You listen to him talk. I think he enjoys being around guys. I think he enjoys the process, as Nick Saban used to talk about. I think he enjoys getting in there with them and teaching them how to play the game of basketball the right way and teaching them how to become a man. And that's what college sports, I was fortunate enough to play with a guy like that at Middle. I mean, it was those coaches are, there are not many of them around anymore, but I don't think a championship, I know he wants to win one, obviously, yeah, but I think he enjoys all the other stuff. And if he doesn't win one, he's had such an impact on young men's lives that I think that's what he truly, truly cares about.
There's a lot of coaches Barnes' age that have gotten out and said, I'm done with this, but Barnes, like Tony has said before, he's embracing it and still playing the game and doing what he can in the portal and using the money Tennessee has to try to do whatever it takes to get Tennessee that Final Four. And I love Rick Barnes. He is he's one of the more likable guys, very likable coach. I felt bad, for him and felt bad for the players, but but you wonder, did they get there? Was this kind of we talk about Lipscomb?
Who knows?
You never know, but
you never know until it's over.
Here's another question I'm going to ask y'all. You talk about, like Tony talked about, Jamal Mashak maybe coming back and Zakai Ziegler coming back, but is it a point where you couldn't get there with those guys already? Yeah. I mean, do you turn the page and try to get something new?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Not on Ziegler.
No, I mean, I understand that. I mean,
if he could play till he's 30, I'd put him out there.
That's right. I mean, he is that guy, but you just wonder that, and everybody talks about Jonas Adu, that he transferred to Arkansas. If they would have had him, maybe a little different, but he didn't show me much at Arkansas. He was, I mean, I know he had some good games, but is it a deal where, what does Mashak give you? I know Mashak gives you toughness. I know he gives you defense because he's probably going to be the defensive player of the year, maybe, or him and Ziegler are both up for it. But when do you say, hey, I didn't get there with you guys, so now I don't think he'll do that, because I think Coach Barnes is loyal and I think he loves those guys, and I can understand that, but I don't know. That's just a hard question to answer right there.
What I would go with on the team they had this year, they were at least a score short, maybe more like 1.5 scores short. Got a lot of real toughs, but not enough scoring. I know we got to go to the break. Stat of the day, and then looking forward to having some really interesting dialogue. Victoria Matiash will join us. She knows her hockey. Trust me. This tomorrow is 94.9 The Fan. Today, it's just simply we're back after this.
When I got my first car, my dad told me, keep the gas tank full and my number on speed dial. Now parents are telling their kids, save 615-242-9000 just in case. I'm Blair Durham. If you or someone you love is in a wreck, call us. We're here to get you the money you deserve.
It's easy to say good things about the folks at Strike and Spare Family Fun Centers. Number one, I trust them with something that's near and dear to me, the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. But more importantly, I see the fun people have. They enjoy the bowling, they enjoy the camaraderie, and you will too. Come by any of their locations and get ready to have some fun. If you are paying too much for your health insurance, you know what? You need to contact the folks at Pancoast Benefits. Pancoast works with businesses and individuals to tackle the high cost of health insurance. Whether you're a business owner, large or small, self-employed, between jobs, or over the age of 65 and in need of a Medicare plan, Pancoast can help. They make understanding your benefits less difficult and more personal. So check them out today, pancoastbenefits.com, or call them at 615-292-3400. Venture Express has been helping people in this area for more than 40 years. They're headquartered in Murfreesboro with over 30 years of dedicated fleets involving production, manufacturing, and corrugated experiences. They're an asset-based company with over 700 tractors, 4,000 trailers, and 800 drivers. If you need their help, dial them up 615-793-9500 or log on to ventureexpress.com.
Coming up, we're talking some NHL, mostly the Preds, of course, with Victoria Matiash from ESPN.com. Looking forward to that conversation. But first, stat of the day brought to you by Apple Collision Centers. You can find them in Old Hickory, Hendersonville, and Gallatin. Give them a call, 615-754-9800, or log on to applecollisioncenters.com. All right, we're going basketball. Tennessee is tied for most wins in NCAA tournament history without a Final Four. Which school are they tied with?
Without a Final Four, UConn obviously has been there. Villanova's been there. Georgetown's been there. St. John's has been there. Providence under Rick Pitino has been there. Kelly. Creighton. Let's go Creighton.
Oh, yeah. It's got to be.
Because Butler was there under Brad Stevens, lost
the
heartbreaker to Duke. Let's go Creighton and see if we're right for a change.
It's actually Xavier.
I think you said that yesterday too, Billy. Did you not?
I did say that yesterday.
I
You did say that, and I could not remember what you said. Good gracious, my mind.
Retain the info.
Yeah, whatever. Okay, officially, we welcome all of you into the 4 o'clock hour from our digs at the Ford Ice Center in Bellevue. Hockey rinks to the right, hockey rinks to the left, and now some really good hockey talk. Victoria Matiash is with ESPN.com. There she is in the right-hand corner of the screen. Victoria, how are you?
I'm very well, George. Thank you very much for having me. Really appreciate it.
Well, thank you for doing this. You know where I'm going with this.
I have an idea.
Yeah, for sure to start with. And let me just toss it out there. How did this Preds thing go so wrong?
Isn't that the $1 million question, though, that Barry Trotz is going to have to figure out, and he's going to have 6 months to figure out it all, basically. I mean, from the very beginning, there was so much optimism, not only in Nashville itself. I was actually in Nashville a week before the start of the hockey season, and the preseason was underway, and things were looking just fine, and everybody seemed pretty jazzed about the season ahead now with the new additions like Steven Stamkos and Jonathan Marchessault, Brady Shea on the back end. Everybody was really pumped, to the point. I also work for the NHL Network, and we had to make our predictions just ahead of the season. And I had the Nashville Predators finishing top of the Central Division. So, and I wasn't alone. I was not standing on an island there whatsoever. And the fact that it has gone down the tubes so drastically and really so quickly, it's not like they lost steam since February. It was a disaster in the first month. It continued to be a disaster throughout the season, and it still is now. They're the third worst team in the league. There's a lot of different areas we can lay some blame. Mostly the high-end scoring isn't there. The players who were expected to produce and put up the points, like your Marchessaults, like your Stamkos, along with Philip Forsberg, haven't done it. Steven Stamkos scored 40 goals last year, and he's barely going to scrape, if he even gets their 50 points this year. There hasn't been that, but most of all, their special teams have been okay. Their penalty kill has been okay. Their power play has been okay. Most of all, they are the worst 5-on-5 team in the league. They cannot score 5-on-5. 1.84 goals per 60 which is atrocious for this team. That's worse than the Sharks. It's worse than Chicago. It's worse than the Sabres. And you play most of the game 5-on-5, right? You can't be on the power play the whole time. So I think that's the general reason, and they have to figure it out.
Let me maybe go off the beaten path here on this one. Would it shock you if Steven Stamkos retired?
Yes, it would shock me. He's not done yet. He still wants to play hockey. And more than anything, he's one of the most committed players in this league. And I think he wants to see this out because it's not like he's on an expiring contract. I think he signed for 3 more years with this team. He's still 35 years old. He's not 45 years old. And no, I don't think he wants to pack it in. I think he wants to see this through. I think he wants to start again next season. Again, they're going to have to make some adjustments. There's probably going to be some different personnel coming in, whether it's still under Andrew Brunette or not. Remains to be seen. Sounds like they still want to stick with their head coach, but no, I don't think he's going to retire this summer. Okay,
we'll get to Andrew Brunette here in a minute, or maybe we're doing it with this question because I hear all this. It takes time to adjust, and the adjustments haven't happened. And I'm sitting here going, wait a minute. We're now 8 months into this crap. Let's cut the nonsense. There's more to this than, well, they haven't adjusted and they haven't worked together. And are you with me that, this answer in April does not wash?
It doesn't. And many of us in the hockey community expected it to work itself out. They got off to a bad start. And we thought, okay, October wasn't great. November wasn't great, but they're going to get going because there's just too much talent on this team. And Andrew Brunette is not a bad coach. We saw what he accomplished with the Nashville Predators the season before, especially in the final 2 months, right? So he's proven that he can coach an NHL team and he can coach one effectively. The issue is, can he coach this team? And I think what we're seeing this year, for whatever reason, you can have a skilled and talented coach. You can have a team that is also incredibly skilled and talented on paper, and it just doesn't gel. And I've heard from beat reporters in Nashville and hockey writers in Nashville that they're just not on the same page. And I think that's what we're seeing. We're seeing they have 9 road wins. I mean, that's absurd at this time of the season. So at this point in time, my understanding is Barry Trotz wants to stick with his guy through the summer into next season. Maybe that's the case. I'm not sure that's the right answer. That's way above my pay grade, and I don't work for the organization, but I find that philosophy a little bit boggling.
If I said it feels like the veterans have not bought in, do you think that's accurate?
It's interesting to me, George, because of the personalities of the players, especially the 2 new additions in Jonathan Marchessault and in Steven Stamkos, these are buy-in guys. These are leaders. For them not to buy in, I mean, they're still playing a sport here, and for them not to bring up some of the younger players like Luke Evangelista and others, and I mean, Tommy Novak's gone now, but for them not to bring them along and not buying in, I wonder if that's too simple of a take at it. Sometimes I just wonder if it just isn't working. Sometimes it just doesn't work. There have been NFL teams in the past that we've seen where they have accrued all this talent, all these great players, and for some reason they're just not on the same page. And it's not necessarily coming down to an individual buying in or not, that just the sum of the parts is less, right, than the parts themselves. And I think that's what the case is with the Predators this year. It's terribly disappointing.
So give me a couple of thoughts on this. We'll get kind of to Andrew Brunette. On one hand, Barry coached him. There's loyalty there. And look, I admire Barry Trotz as much as anybody.
Absolutely.
Love the guy. But there's also the business side of hockey where NFL television money isn't pouring into these teams. The lifeblood is season tickets. How do you bring him back and sell tickets?
Barry Trotz or Andrew Brunette? Which one are we talking about?
Andrew Brunette.
See, that is the problem. The NHL is a bums in seats league, right? like you just mentioned, George, it's not a television revenue driven league. I mean, it helps, and there's great TV contracts out there. Another one just got negotiated today with a provider in Canada. But it is you have to sell tickets to thrive and to survive, especially the smaller organizations. The Rangers are always going to be fine. Toronto's always going to be fine. Montreal's going to be fine. There is the other, the Kings are going to be fine. But generally speaking, a market like Nashville, they have to, if not sell out, they have to do very well on a regular basis. So if they decide, if they sent the message out to their fan base, because there are some very devoted hockey fans in Nashville, and there's a lot of them. I've spoken to them and they are in. It's a great hockey town for one of the non-traditional markets. It's fantastic. They have to send a message. If they're going to stick with this guy, they're going to have to explain to their fan base why they have cause for optimism, and why it's going to have to be made very, very clear why next season is going to be an absolute 180 from the disaster this one was, because they can't be in a position where they're just a little bit better next year. They have to be playoff bound, right? We're not talking about the San Jose Sharks where it's a rebuild. We're talking 2-3 years, and that's when we're expecting them to make the postseason. This has to be immediate. So they have to send out some letter to the fans, make it public. This is why we're still sticking with our guy.
By the way, you're singing to the choir here.
Yeah, I figured.
Day one, year one, season ticket holder. There are probably 200 of us left, and I count 2 of them. I didn't know the first thing about hockey at the time, but thought, given what I do for a living, that I at least, if I was going to ask people to buy tickets, that I probably better pony up as well, and have come to love it. So how does it get better? That's the question I'm asking myself, is if it looks like this in October and Brunette's here, he's gone, and then Barry starts to catch the wrath of, what are you doing to make it better?
Well, and if Andrew Brunette is coaching in October, which again, it sounds like he will be, I imagine he's going to be on a very short leash. So whatever, he has 6 months to figure out how they can start scoring 5-on-5. That's the biggest bugaboo with this team. He's going to be on a very short leash, and I think there will be a coaching change made very, very, very quickly. If they don't come out gangbusters, there's going to be a change pretty much immediately. Barry Trotz's future, I think, has a lot more racetrack to it, just because he's a new GM. They're going to give him some time to figure it out. We're also going to have to keep a very close watch on the moves that they do make in the summer, because I know all the veterans are on contracts for next season, if not the season after that and the season after that. So if there's a deal to be made, or maybe picking up a key, veteran free agent or two, because this is a little bit of an aging team as well. They're also going to need some of the younger players to come up. But basically, Andrew Brunette is going to have to adjust his system, and he's going to have to talk to his veteran players. I think there's going to be a lot of deck meetings and barbecues and maybe a couple of beers over the summer to figure out what went wrong this year. Because we're washing our hands of it now. We were washing our hands of it 2 months ago, right? Just the fact that they're officially eliminated means absolutely nothing. They were not going to scrape in. We knew that at the end of January. So they're going to have a lot of time to figure this out. I do think there are a lot of level heads on this team. So if they get together and they talk it out and they figure out what went wrong, line adjustments, a different system to play altogether, because there are other head coaches that are doing a lot more with a lot less than what Andrew Brunette has available to him in Nashville.
Okay, I got 2 more questions, and then we will inflict former NFL quarterback Kelly Holcomb on you. So get ready.
Great.
I'm a UC Soros fan.
Yes.
My gut feeling is his slump is a product of what's in front of him. Is it that simple?
Yes, it is. I believe so. Because if you actually look at some of his underlying analytics, he hasn't been terrible. And what does how many wins? 18 wins, right? His goals against average is actually pretty middle of the road. His save percentage isn't great, but I do think it's a lack of goal support. That's been a big, big problem, but also a lack of defensive cohesion out front as well. And we can talk about Roman Josi has missed some time. Well, he also played like 53 games or something like that. And it's also not coming down to one guy. As great as Roman Josi is, the rest of that is a very non-cohesive defensive core right now. So I do believe it's not like all of a sudden UC Saros is bad. That it doesn't work that way. It's because he's not one of those flash in the pan goaltenders that has had one or two good seasons. We've watched him basically, play Vezina caliber goal for years now. And he was one of those guys. I write about fantasy as well for ESPN.com. And he's one of those I always have top of my table at the start of the season. This is somebody you want on your fantasy team. He's right up there. And again, I'm not a believer that all of a sudden just a goaltender, especially a veteran goalie like UC Saros, just loses it. It's going to be more of a product of everything else that's going out in front of him.
Okay, this final question on my end comes out of section 304, row 1, where a bunch of people yap. They've been there together for years, and they're you know how it works.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of yapping going on. And a guy behind me made the point recently that none of the young group are having any breakthrough. So I'll ask it this way. Of this core of young that they're trying to push into this, who's the most likely to make a breakthrough?
I still have a lot of hope for Luke Evangelista. I do, just in terms of the player he is, and we see flashes of it, George. That's what I like. And he's still very young. I think he's 22. So, I mean, let's give him a little bit more time as well, because in terms of just talented skaters up front, Zach Lheureux he's a different animal. He's not going to score 40 goals for you. But when you're looking at a player like Luke Evangelista, I think he does have that potential. And maybe it is under a different coach. Maybe it is playing with different line mates for him to develop that consistency that people really need to see, because you're right. This is an aging team, and you're not seeing that young talent come up like you are seeing with what are we watching with Washington this year? It's the exact polar opposite of what we're seeing in Nashville. So it's definitely something that the coaching staff, whoever makes up that core next year, is going to have to figure out, because that's a big part of success in this league.
Kelly Holcomb, say hello to Victoria Matiash from ESPN.com.
Hey, Kelly.
Victoria, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Hey, so y'all keep talking about Andrew Burnett, and in my past life and my, being a professional NFL guy, there's some coaches that, you'll fight for. There's some coaches that you see through that, and it's kind of phony. And last year, they had these young guys come in, and these young guys had the desire to play. They went on that big winning streak, and they got in the playoffs and all that. This year, a lot of those guys are gone, and they bring in older guys. And, I know you've got a beat on what's happening, and you hear what's happening, but, is that what the guys, like these older guys kind of buy in for a little bit, but then when they go to team meetings and they're like, this dude has no clue what he's talking about. Is that kind of what we're seeing here, or is it just they're just not gelling?
I think they're just not gelling, Kelly, honestly, to be honest, just because I'm quite familiar with the personalities of Steven Stamkos and Jonathan Marchessault, and I think that's who we're basically talking about here. And they're not difficult, maybe for lack of a better term, but I think you understand. They're not particularly stubborn. And they've both also played on the international stage, and they played for different coaches as well. And I also do think they're consummate professionals. Steven Stamkos might be one of the top consummate professionals in this league. So even if he has some philosophical differences, he's still one to put that aside. So I do think it's more of an issue of just not gelling.
So if you do keep Andrew Burnett, what does he have to do? Because this obviously didn't work. Yeah, this obviously didn't work this year.
Yeah.
So what do you have to do to the roster? Because you got to get guys to buy in. If they're not buying in, you're not going to win games. And I know that you're saying giving them a short leash, but if you have that much doubt about it, why not go ahead and make the move?
Yeah.
I know that he's a Barry Trotz guy. I get that. He played for him. I understand that. But something's got to change, and if you're going to keep this roster, which I know free agency and all that stuff with getting new guys each year, they're going to get new guys. But what all do you have to do to the roster to get these guys to buy in?
I think some new pieces will be key. It doesn't have to be very many of them, but sometimes even a different character or two, you probably know that more than anybody, can change an attitude of a team, right? So I think that's going to be a big part of it. And again, what I was just saying to George, they have 6 months. They're going to be done mid-April. They're not playing again until early October. They're going to have to communicate. Andrew Burnett is going to have to talk to. These are two players he played in the league at the same time as. It's not like they're not familiar; they're unfamiliar with each other, right? They are going to have to communicate. They're going to have to talk this out, unless management wants to make a drastic move and try and move one of them. And I think that would be quite difficult right now, because what you're going to get back, it's going to be low value because their production numbers have been terrible. So they're going to have to communicate, and they're going to have to figure out some sort of holistic group view and some strategy. And they have a lot of time to do this. Take a couple months off, go to the cottage, go fishing, do your thing, relax. And then everybody comes back to the table, figures out first what went wrong, right?
Yeah.
That's a very big first step. And then figure out what you need to do to fix it.
So my last deal here is this seems like this year was a dumpster fire. It was not good.
You could not phrase it any better. And there's no sugarcoating it. There are other teams who we didn't expect anything from the Sharks. We didn't expect anything from the Blackhawks, right? So, and we're looking at teams that are growing, particularly in San Jose. But you've got the Rangers in the East and you've got the Predators in the West that have just been incredible disappointments. Dumpster fire is perfect. Please continue.
So with the dumpster fire going on, how do you get free agents in here? If they know, like if you're a free agent, do you have to sit down with Barry Trotz and Andrew Burnett and saying, hey, here's what are we doing? What are we doing? Now, I know that money talks. I understand that. But how do you get free agents to come in here after a year that they had?
And that is an excellent question. Of all the four major sports, I think money talks less in the NHL than it does elsewhere. These players, not that players don't want to win in the NBA, not that they don't want to win in Major League Baseball, but players will take a pay cut to play somewhere else with a shot at a Stanley Cup. It really does mean that much more. They're such teammates, and the ultimate goal, they don't care about winning the Hart. Well, they do, obviously, but they care a lot less about the personal accolades and the paychecks. And they're still everybody who's going to make money is going to make money anyway. But to convince them that there's a winning formula, one good thing that the Predators have is Barry Trotz is incredibly respected in the NHL. And if he sits down, he's going to have some list of points to make to convince some free agents. And trades are possible too, but to convince some, high-end free agents. And if there is a GM out there who's able to do it, he's going to be in better position than most. So that he does have that, but he's going to have to make some compelling arguments and some real practical ones, not just we're going to be better, right? This is what you're going to change. This is how you're going to fit in. And this is how you're going to help us be that much better, not just a little bit better. So he's got his work cut out for him. And communication, again, is going to be key.
Victoria, there is a lone voice in 304 row 2, a row behind me, that says, bring Tortorella.
Oh my goodness. I was just talking about this. I do have a podcast, by the way, Pucks and Seven. I do with my partner, Ryan Payton. We were just talking about this.
Slow down. Say that again.
Okay. It's called Pucks and Seven. Anywhere you get your podcast, it's on YouTube as well. It's so I do it with both Ryan and Payton. I also work at the NHL Network, but we do our own little thing on the side. We have a lot of fun. We discussed this, I think, 2 days ago. I would love to see that happen. Just because it would be such a challenge for John Tortorella going to a team with all these veteran players instead of working with the younger ones, which he just went through pretty much in Philadelphia. And after 3 years, both sides decided to call that a day. But just to bring in maybe a little bit of a harsher voice, John Tortorella's players often love him, but he is demanding. And maybe something very different is needed in Nashville as well. I don't think this is going to happen. I don't know how quickly John Tortorella wants to return to coaching. He will coach in the NHL again. I'm convinced of that. Whether it's next season, I don't believe it'll be before next season. He might be an interim guy. So let's just say this, George and Kelly. Let's just say it is another dumpster fire to start. I wouldn't be at all surprised if there are conversations, let's say November, December, around then. And John Tortorella has decided he's bored of sitting on the couch. It grew old, right? And this is a situation, and this is an incredible challenge to come back to. And I like the fit more than many other people do.
Okay. Promise me that when the dust starts to settle, you will come back on this show again.
I will
You
come
are
back
terrific.
whenever I'm invited, George. It was a lot of fun. Thank you.
Thank you. She is terrific. Victoria Matiash from ESPN.com, laying it out there the way it is.
She knows it. My golly, she knows her stuff.
Yep.
We need to have more
This
women
is
on we
it.
need to have more women on the program. Billy, did you show her a picture of you? Is that why you got her to call you back?
No. Kelly.
He got her to come on because I made the suggestion. Yeah. I'm going to take just a tad bit of credit.
Okay.
Not much. She's really good. And I knew that going in that she would knock it out of the park. After the break, Kelly, as you know, we have plaster bet of the day. Me is on a 1-game winning streak. Pathetic that we have to ballyhoo winning 1 in a row. We'll go for number 2 next.
When I got my first car, my dad told me, keep the gas tank full and my number on speed dial. Now parents are telling their kids, save 615-242-9000 just in case. I'm Blair Durham. If you or someone you love is in a wreck, call us. We're here to get you the money you deserve.
The Nashville Cats are back for another fun season of football. The first home game is Saturday night, March 29th at 5 p.m. against the Albany Firebirds. Catch the live play-by-play action on 93.3 Totally Hits. For tickets, go to thenashvillecats.com. That's thenashvillecats.com.
This is my buddy Stan Harrison from Apple Collision Centers. Recently, you've been talking to me about companies that have a fleet of trucks and they're always in need of repairs.
That's right, George. We understand that nobody likes to deal with the auto body repair process. We try to simplify that at our 3 convenient locations. We work with all major insurance companies. We help to ease the stress of the auto body repair process. We're located in Old Hickory, Hendersonville, and Gallatin. If you need our services, please stop by and see us.
And how convenient that we have that in the background. Now, seriously, these are good folks. They do really good work. Give them a holler.
Here in Nashville for the 7th Country Music Marathon and Half Marathon. I think it says a lot about the city of Nashville, what it has to offer.
Rock and Roll Nashville isn't just a race. It's the best way to experience this iconic city. We're giving you more music, more fun, and more reasons to run with us. Get immersed in music culture and join us for this legendary tour of Nashville.
You know, starting to save for your future doesn't have to be difficult. Let Wilson Bank and Trust help tone up your financial goals this year. Our certificates of deposits or CDs can help your money work harder with our competitive rates, earning you more than ever before. WBT checking options allow you to earn rewards you can really use, like a high interest rate or cash back on check card purchases when you meet some e-banking qualifications. Visit your closest Wilson Bank and Trust office or online at wilsonbank.com to get started today. Member FDIC.
Final segment on a Tuesday. It's time now for Bet of the Day, brought to you by Bart Durham Injury Law. We got some NIT action tonight. We'll see where George is going with Bet of the Day. Again, brought to you by Bart Durham. We take a look at what happened last night. Nebraska got a win and covered the -5.
You know, they were down 8 at the half. And Kelly was rooting against me. And the old corn shuckers They fired back. They said, "Not so fast, Kelly Holcomb."
George, did you have a good Friday the other day? Is that where you've caught back up a little bit here?
Yeah. Thursday and Friday was not bad for me. I went 5-2-1 in the
nice.
8 games that we picked Thursday and Friday.
Okay.
Now, before that was like a riot on the Hindenburg.
It was wretched.
Wretched doesn't even. Here's a good word: rancid.
Rancid. That's
Really,
correct.
look up the word rancid.
Billy don't know what rancid means.
Well, yeah, but that's we're going to teach him a word here in a minute. The
Billy, do you know it?
definition of rancid is
Smelling or tasting unpleasant as a result of being old and stale.
Correct.
Does that mean I'm old and stale? Wow. Okay. So let me ask this question. Okay. Billy earlier threw out the 4 teams that are now in the semifinals of the NIT. And remember, the NIT, both last year and this year, is not a deal at Madison Square Garden. It goes to Hinkle Fieldhouse in Indy. Now, nothing against Hinkle Fieldhouse, which is an old traditional arena, kind of in the Hoosiers mode, but it doesn't have the allure that MSG does. You go to the Garden, going to the Garden used to be one of the best things the NIT had to offer. So the 4 finalists this year are North Texas, UC Irvine, Loyola of Illinois, and UT Chattanooga. What's my reaction? The NIT cannot survive if that becomes a yearly deal. Because you look at that, it's all mid-major.
Yep. Yeah, that's a tough. That's a good point, George, and you hate that too. But the fan bases are just not there. You're just not going to bring a lot of people from UT Chat to go up there. Yeah, I don't know, and that's the sad part of it, George. It's like the mid majors, but you got UTC's pretty good now. They're not a bad
They're
ball
very
club.
good.
They're
They
really
beat
good, but
Dayton.
yeah. Yeah, so you're just not going to get people to go to games. I guess people in the Indianapolis area go and maybe see some college basketball, but you're not going to get the fan bases that you get from, these big Power 4 conferences.
I'll be really curious to see what the crowd looks like tonight. So here goes. Game 1, we're going North Texas. Why? North Texas, to me, is one of these mentally tough. All their games feel like they're 68-64. They are used to these tough, down-to-the-wire kind of environments. This one tonight is likely to be one of those. And North Texas, with that toughness about them, finds a way to win and to cover against UC Irvine. Game number 2, yeah, I would love to take UT Chattanooga. They really impressed me in their win a week and a half ago at home against Dayton. I just don't see it. Loyola of Illinois is on a roll, and they have been for a while. They're the red-hot team in this, and I think they win, and I think they cover.
Chattanooga beat Bradley, and I think they were the number 1 ranked team in the NIT, correct?
Well,
so.
The way they do it, they're 4 number 1s. I don't know. Were they a number 1?
I think Bradley they had to have been a 1 seed.
Yes, they were.
Yeah, because Bradley's really good.
Yeah,
they are.
Out of the Missouri Valley. Okay, tomorrow on the show, we will return back to our radio life on 94.9 The Fan. And tomorrow, Mike Organ will join us at 3:20. The 4 o'clock hour, we'll get into the Titans draft. I don't know if you've heard, they have the number 1 pick. And the rumor is Cam Ward.
I don't know how much more of a rumor that is anymore. Everybody knows it.
Not being facetious. Now, what we're going to do is Terry McCormick is going to tell us what he thinks they ought to do in rounds 2 through 5 if indeed Cam Ward is the guy with the number 1 pick. Hope you'll join us. Thanks for being with us today, even though we weren't on radio. Enjoy the podcast. See you tomorrow.